I don't even have a personal website. I have a holding space. Like, my ability to sort of promote myself has never been my strong suit.
Welcome to Life Lessons of a Creative Entrepreneur, or LACE for short. My mission is to expose the behind-the-scenes work to increase empathy in the creative process. Joey has a combined experience in content creation and general contracting for 30 plus years. He is a phenomenal human and is the kind of person that gives his shirt off his back to help others and often forgets about himself. Joey has never been the kind of guy to be promoting himself. He was working at US Foods as a creative consultant for almost 10 years, making about $76,000 a year, and he ended up being let go in August of 2020 due to the global pandemic. Since then, he's applied to over 400 jobs and got a total of 2 interviews that weren't even the right fit for him. He's a prime example of someone that does not promote themselves, but has so much experience and the capabilities to work in various roles, but is still struggling. He is now 45 years old and unable to get a stable income. He's doing odd jobs just to get by. In this episode, we get really candid about his situation and how the world passes you by when you don't take your personal brand and business into your own hands. I hope you enjoy the episode. Let's get into it. Yay!
Hey, how you doing?
Joey.
How's it
We're
going?
here with the one and only Joey Cruz.
That's right.
I cannot begin to tell you enough about this man and who he is as a person. Joey, to me, represents the problem that exists in the creative community and in art in general when it comes to building a sustainable business and having the community take care of you when you're choosing to just do the work. And so that's why, to me, you are just, man, I can never give up in my mission to help people because of individuals like you. So
Wow,
thank you.
No, thank you.
For being you.
Thank
and
you.
for always showing up for people regardless of the dollar sign. And so anyway, so let's deep dive.
Yeah.
Joey,
it's a lot.
Talk to me a little bit about your journey.
Yeah.
From the beginning of your creative journey, like how you started,
Yep.
all the ins and outs and the different levels that you've operated at.
Yeah, that's a really interesting story. I started off very young. I had someone in my life that was a professional photographer and started working with him. His name is Benny Guetta. Started working with him when I was very, very young. And so that started me on my photography career. He needed someone to help him out. And essentially that's how I started my professional career. I started doing weddings at the time. I think I was 15, 16 years old when I was technically getting paid to do weddings on my own. Again, I had a lot of weird advantages. It was a small town. So I was able to get into a place where there wasn't a lot of competition. And at the time, we were shooting film.
What town is this?
It was in Kingsville, Texas. A little like we worked for the King Ranch. I've had a really interesting career because I've also, because of my work with, working with events in the King Ranch, had to, got a chance to meet a lot of famous people and work a lot of crazy, amazing events. And that sort of led me on this whole path. And it was my entire career. It's funny, but I've never had to apply for a job. I've always been the kind of person who fell into the next thing. And so that created an opportunity when I was in college, was starting off my career in college, very early on, for me to get an internship with the Caller Times in Corpus Christi. And that led to sort of a long time. I was there, I think, 7-8 years as a staff photographer. Started off as an intern for about 7 days, and Monday the next week I was a full-blown photographer. And again, it's a lot of story of right place, right time. When I was with the Caller Times, it was when we were converting from film to digital. It was the whole sort of revolution. Kodak came out with the very first camera. And because I was working with a bunch of old cats, they're like, give the camera to Joey. I ain't messing with it. So I got one of the very first digital cameras in Texas. It was a 1.2 megapixel, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was a sports photographer. I shot a lot of out-of-town football games. Again, right place, right time. My dad was a scout for high school, And so I spent my entire life, really from the time I was a child, going to football games and really understanding the game. So understanding how it unfolded. And that gave me the skill set to take amazing photos, especially at a time when, unlike today, I couldn't take 1,000 photos. I could take 6. And of those 6, one had to be good enough to be in the sports page. So your room for error was tenansy, right? Like literally non-existent. You had a lot, and also that was the beginning of Photoshop. So it was when we were just learning how to digitally enhance photos. And then that career led me into a career with Univision, which is I started doing commercial production. Me and one other guy, we shot and edited Spanish language commercials. I did that for 8 years, and it was a small station. So same thing. Small station, had to do everything. Had to be the engineer, had to be... when I would roll onto a shoot for 8 years, I was everything. I was the audio technician, I was the producer, writer, editor, director, everything. And most of the shoots that I went on, people were very unprepared. And a lot of times it was their very first time on camera. So I also had to be the speech coach. And oftentimes I was working with people who didn't speak the language, who were not fluent in Spanish. So now I'm trying to coach them and get something on camera that's usable as a car commercial from a guy that has never spoken the language, and I'm coaching him through it. So my entire career has been life lessons learned. I don't have any practical training. I have 0 college training. The reason why I got into Photoshop and was able to use it, because when I worked at Radio Shack in my younger years of college, one of the jobs that I worked at was at Radio Shack, and we used to throw away the old Photoshop books. When you would cut them out and you would get the new edition, it would be like Photoshop for Dummies. And I didn't have access to a computer back then, so I would read these books, and I learned Photoshop absent any practical abilities, right? Like I never got a chance to practice editing a photo in Photoshop. I just saw it in a book. So the first time that I technically got a chance to practice was on my job at the Caller Times.
So when you went to college, what did you go to college for?
Journalism and communications.
Okay, but you didn't go to be a photographer
No.
or video professional?
Well, and I did work in that field there.
Yeah.
But that's the funny thing. I went to A&M Kingsville, Texas A&M Kingsville, that had a very weak program. Bless their hearts, they just had a really weak program. I had one good teacher, one good professor, and he was an adjunct professor, and I was able to do the layout for the paper. I did photography, and I did write stories, and was able to get my first taste of writing an impactful story. I wrote a story there that was about the budgeting of the art department that really was viral, before viral was a thing. But I remember walking onto campus the next day and seeing everybody with a campus paper, and something that had never happened before. It's not like anybody had broken any news of any nature to where... But it was a huge talking point, and that was my introduction to sort of understanding the power of media. And then as I got into Univision, I started to learn the techniques of it, right? The technicality of being able to understand the demographics, understand what I was shooting and how I was shooting, and it's really where I learned about the return on investment, the ROI of it all. And the way that broke down for me was quite simple. It's like, I knew that I had a job. I knew that I had a certain amount of commercials to produce in a day. And, that's the funny thing that kids don't understand. Like when you're in the real world, especially in a TV station, I was making 3 to 5 spots a day. Shoot in the morning, 2 or 3 spots, edit 3 in the afternoon. And I did that every single day. And
for how long?
Oh, 8 years.
8 years.
8 years.
8 years.
And that's where my skill set of editing really took shape. Because also... I shot in a way to where I knew I'm dealing with, sometimes inadequate talent. So I had to make them look good. A lot of times it was just getting them to say the intro on camera, getting to say the close on camera, and then making up the rest in between. Either them reading it on a script so I could take multiple takes and fill in it with B-roll, which is mostly what I did. And then you learn about the return on investment there, which is, at the end of the day, it's about who, what, when, where, and why. And it's basically like, what are they selling, and where can I get the information? So it's a phone number, and that's basically it. And of course, then you start to get a little creative, because there was clients that we had, like Wildcat Motors, where the guy liked to jump off of roofs and do crazy stuff. And you got to be really, really creative. And that's where I shine. Also in the fact that I can show up to any environment now with zero preparation, zero pre-work, zero any sign of anybody being prepped for anything, and I can make something beautiful.
And that's cool, but it's not ideal, right?
No,
it's not how you want to be operating.
It's never how you want to operate.
Would you be okay saying how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 45.
You're 45.
Yeah.
So you started, let's say, your first journalism, or when you started in a TV station. How old were you there?
I started at 16. I was 16.
At 16 years old. So then, now you're 45. You have made a career and you've had decades of opportunity where you were like making a really good living, correct? What's the most money you've ever made?
Well, I mean, I would say that really, in the media world, I was probably at one point making about $70,000 a year in the media world,
and that's your
which is a lot.
Yeah.
Which is a lot in that world.
And so my question is this. Now you have this abundance of experience. You can do literally anything. Anything that anybody gives you, you can do.
Yeah.
But now you find yourself kind of like struggling through life.
Super, yeah.
And you're doing all these kind of odd jobs to scrape by. And tell me, what do you think that is with how experienced you are?
So for me, it's hard to pinpoint. But I have to say that one of the reasons for me is the saturation of the market. At a certain point, and I saw this firsthand, I was doing wedding photography at the time when I would say, this is probably 20 years ago, when everybody had access to a digital camera. And what I started to find is because as you become a professional, I also start to act like a professional, which happened to me earlier in my career than most because I became really an expert. Within 10 years, I was at a kind of a level where not a lot of people were at. So what I ended up finding that happened is I was getting underbid constantly because people weren't willing to pay my price to go shoot a wedding or shoot an event because they had a cousin or a friend of a friend that also had a digital camera and was willing to shoot their photo at the wedding or etc. So that started to undercut me for a long time. And I never really recovered from that. The main reason is a lot of what I think mentally is, it costs me, basically if I'm going to go shoot a photo or video or anything, in my mind, now I know I'm probably worth a lot more than this now, but in my mind, if I'm going to leave the house, I need to be making $1,000 to start before I even start adding on anything additional because of the reason that it is so easy for me. My time is valuable, but I don't take a lot of time to shoot photos because I'm very good at it. I don't take a lot of time to shoot video because I'm very good at it. And that skill set was gained over 20 plus years of 8 hours a day working on my craft. And not just working on my craft, but also because YouTube started to become a thing 10, 15 years ago, training myself.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years alone, I can't tell you how many videos I've watched to improve my skill set.
And so why didn't you, for example, get into the YouTube space?
It was a time frame of I didn't think I could. It has a lot more to do with my personality than anything else.
Why?
I present confident. I've always presented confident, but I am a very good sort of actor, right? And I can play a role when I'm with people that has this whole presentation of confidence because I know that makes people comfortable. But inside, my head is not doing the same thing as my outside.
What is your head telling you?
My head's telling me I'm not good enough. I need to try harder. I'm not going to be as successful as like my mom or my parents. So I have very successful family members. And that stresses me out in a way that I just don't feel like I'm living up to the expectations of what was expected of me because I've always sort of been this golden child, the person that can do everything, the person that has no problems doing anything. And that's the truth, right? Like there's nothing, and I'm confident in saying this, that if I don't know how to do it, give me 20 minutes, I'll figure it out. Because just figure it out in absence of someone else teaching you. And so the reason why I feel like I didn't start a YouTube, I don't even have a personal website. I have a holding space. Like my ability to sort of promote myself has never been my strong suit. I have this feeling of like being scared, right? Of what people think of me. my own personal skill set, even though I know I'm very skilled. I know that I'm of a level that's very deserving of a very high salary. I mean, I prove it every single job. The last job I worked for was at US Foods. I was, started off as a menu graphic designer, someone that could do video and do menus, and the job went away to corporate structure, and I thought I lost my job. So I went in on a Friday, talked to the president and said, hey, thank you so much. It's been fun working here. Thank you. And then, basically I'll be going on my way. And he says, you're not going anywhere. You're too important to the company. And I didn't really understand what that meant, because in my entire life, people have believed in me more than I've believed in myself. And so I just felt like, well, business is business. I'm out the door. And so I show up on a Monday with no job. I show up on a Monday literally sitting at a desk with no schedule, no what I'm supposed to do as far as tasks are concerned. And over the next 6 years at US Foods, I made a job for myself. And I love logistics. I love making things easier. I can see things that people can't because of the way my brain works. I can take the big picture and find the things that we need to make improvements on that make the most benefit. Again, talking about return on investment, something I'm very good at. I am also not a prideful person. If somebody wants me to make a video that's, for my standards, cheap, or someone needs me to design a menu that's on Word and it's going to look ugly, I don't have the mentality where, I'm too good for this. Mm-hmm. My mentality is if the customer's happy with what they need, if I got the customer what they needed, and it takes me a lot less time to do a Word file that's basically, two lines and some words on the page, it's less skin off of my teeth. And if I just have to, again, it's not about swallowing my pride. I'm perfectly prideful in that I can take a Word file on a Microsoft document, turn it into a general something that the client is happy with. And if they're happy and it took me 20 minutes versus, 4 hours of doing an InDesign, beautiful layout document and getting all of the stuff you needed, then they're same, right? Same for the client that needs something fancy versus, and in fact, the return on investment is better for the smaller clients because I'm able to turn more of them around. Mm-hmm. So if I can do 20 clients that just need something basic versus one client that takes 7 days to produce, well, shoot, I'll take those 20 clients because you're affecting more people, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, a business, a corporate, an organization is about how many people you can affect. And I think that mentality has led into some of the other things in my life about me going out and doing all this stuff for free or whatever, just because I feel like I'm trying to spread goodness. And I've always been about that, make people happy, work hard, and the rest will come. Mm-hmm. And that's not, in my hindsight, I do know that I need to get better at fighting for myself.
And are you still kind of waiting for it to come back to you?
100%. I mean, I'm 45 years old and I haven't caught a break. It's just that I know in my heart that I'm worth a lot more money than I make. Of course.
I mean,
I know that.
1,000%. Your value can be felt in a day of working with you. I mean, I know that it has for me. Your case is so interesting to me. I've known other people as well that are just so hard workers.
Yeah.
But they don't really get strategic about how they're promoting themselves, how they're positioning themselves in the market, and building relationships based on that.
Correct.
Versus just, you're helping everybody in the ways that you can because you can.
Yeah.
And then you're not really expecting anything. You don't require anything. And so it kind of just, you help them and then you move on and then nothing ever really happens.
And then truthfully, for me, and the after effect is after I've done the thing, especially when it comes to a corporate job and things like that, when I haven't asked for what I should have asked in the beginning, I get taken advantage of. And so there becomes this Joey can do it mentality. Like everybody in every job that I've ever done, when the top management in the corporate level doesn't know how to do something, they pick up the phone and they call me to figure it out because they know I can figure it out.
And I feel like Joey's case, in your case particular, is also a representation of like how no one is going to take care of you.
Yeah.
But yourself.
Yeah. And I'm not good at that
If
at all.
you're not taking care of yourself, no one is going to come and be like, oh no, remember Joey?
Yeah.
Remember when Joey did this for me? Then we need to bring him back around because we need to give back to him because of what he's done.
Yeah.
Like, there's none of that.
Yeah.
I understand that it's everybody's responsibility to take care of themselves, and it's kind of like, you know, everyone's looking out for their own family nucleus, but at the same time it's like, dude, shouldn't we have a structure, an infrastructure that takes care of people like you? That helps you create a living in a way where like you can do the things that you do best without having to worry about all the other stuff?
That would be ideal. And unfortunately, like, a big part of my personality, the reason why I think I am so good at all the things I'm good at, is because I love helping people.
Yeah.
I love the act of helping people. I am never prouder than when I see someone, especially at the bottom of the totem pole, who doesn't think they could I give them the power to believe in themselves, and then they get lifted up. I love that. But it hurts me in the long run, because then I don't.
You know a lot of people too. You know a lot of people. So this is what Joey has: 30 years of experience in media, construction, plumbing, all of the things. He's an amazing person.
Thank you.
So he's kind, he's generous, he gives back, he's constantly giving himself to others. So he's built a huge network of people that he has.
Yeah.
But because he has not positioned himself in the marketplace with a specific thing that he does, and then done the outreach or the marketing efforts to be able to tell the people, hey, this is what I do.
Yeah.
This is what I charge for this. This is the value. This is the exchange that you get from me. He hasn't gone anywhere.
No.
And we're going to change that. Definitely. We're going to change that because that's just what we do. This is why I feel like this conversation was so important.
Yeah.
Because to me, you're kind of like that guy or that case or that story that fell through the cracks.
Yeah, that's true.
The one that did all the things right. You were great. You were awesome to people. You treated everyone with kindness. You gave of yourself. But no one's going to take care of you. Because at the end of the day, everyone's looking out for themselves. That's not a bad thing because that's the way the society is built.
Yep.
And there's so many more people that are Joeys, you know? And although Joey's case is not going to be like that for long, it's what we want to avoid. And you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to do the marketing. You have to figure out your sales process. You got to figure out what you sell. You got to figure out how to position yourself in the market. And if you don't know these things, then you have to figure out how to do them. There's people in the community. There's people that know this and are willing to help. You got to get mentorship. You got to invest in that, right?
Yeah.
Because talent, which is what Joey got in excess of, means nothing next to all of these other factors that go into it. It all has to come together, and that's how you create the life of your dreams. That's how you create a sustainable life.
Yeah, and I see that a lot, where I see people that don't have a quarter of my talent, but
They're
promote
successful.
themselves well, very successful. I'm on the opposite end. I have all the talent, but I'm horrible at promotion.
And the really cool thing about Joey, and why what we're going to do with Joey is going to be successful and it's going to be quickly, is because he's already kind of created, he has a network and he has the credibility established already. So it's all going to be just simply creating the product offering and then positioning that to the right audience, to the right people, and just basically at that point activating your network and letting them know, hey, this is what I do, this is my website, this is my history, and then, you know, go from there kind of thing. But Joey, I thank you so much for being vulnerable.
Oh, no problem. I'm always love talking to you.
This is not easy, I'm sure, for a lot of people would not just come here and be like, yo, like, I'm struggling, I'm broke. I've built all of these skills and I've had all these life experiences, but I'm still struggling to put food on the table.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about every month, and it's like it's a happenstance of COVID. I have never been in my entire career, even when I worked in a farm, you know, at 13 years old, I have never been fired or let go from a job in my life. The very first time I got let go was from U.S. Foods, and that was solely because of COVID. I would have never lost that job otherwise.
Yeah.
So for the first time, and also this is the first time in my life that I've had to create a resume and try to find a job. I've never had to do that. I'm 45. I've never had to find a job because I affect people in such a positive way through the organizations and the community that I have, that they're like, I'm starting a new company, come work with me. Or I'm in charge of Univision now, come work at the station. And it's everything that I've ever gotten has been connection based. And I've depended on that. Unfortunately, it's led to the situation I'm in now, which is when you depend on everyone else and you're not using your own facilities to do the job of putting yourself out there, you get left behind. And that's what happened to me. I mean, I'm just, and now I don't even know, like, truthfully, I'd be a great art director, because the truth is like, there's kids coming in school that have so much more talent than I do, right? They're amazing designers. I'll never be that. They're amazing photographers. I won't be that anymore. They know the stuff. But what I can bring to the table is this wealth of knowledge and experience and failure. I think my biggest skill and the reason why I can do so many things is because I'm not afraid to fail. I fail 30 times a day trying to do one thing and I did something yesterday that I've never done before. And I'm not afraid to mess up. So let's just try it. And sure enough, I made it work. So that's a skill set, right? That I know I'm very proud of. But then I know the weaknesses that I have. In my mind, I don't see a way to fix it.
Of course. And that's why we're going to help you fix it.
Thank you.
Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Because this episode is going to be titled The One That Got Left Behind.
Yeah.
Because this is exactly what happened to Joey. Joey is the story of someone that got left behind because he wasn't savvy enough to say, hey, I need to prepare for what's to come and I need to position myself and leverage my opportunities and my network and my abundance, because you had an abundance.
Oh, yeah.
You had the money coming in. Everyone loved you. You were doing something you loved to do. You were good at it. Yeah. You were great. And then COVID attacked. And then now this man is like, holy shit, like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I'm general contracting right now. I'm fixing rent houses and
when
patching
he's someone
holes.
that works in media and he's patching holes. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. That's awesome that you are diverse enough that you can do these things and survive. But still, like, you should be an art director.
Oh, yeah. And
or you should be running media teams. Or you should be running strategies.
Absolutely.
And building people and doing all these such important work and being a leader in your community.
That's what I'm best at the end of the day. What my true talent is I'm very good at getting the best out of people. I'm very good at listening. I understand people's problems, and I'm very good in a business sense about pulling out people's talents and finding out what they're good at and giving them the confidence. I did it at US Foods all the time. I had some guys that were in the produce department. They'd been produce men for 35 plus years. And I gave them the confidence to own their department that no one had ever given them before.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what makes me the most prideful, is seeing other people succeed. I had a corporate meeting of the top executives. There's 7 top executives, and they graduated from Brown and Purdue and the top universities. And I had Raymond, the dude from our warehouse, that didn't have an email till about a year before this meeting, that can't really, like I said, function very well in a writing environment, but who was brave enough in this meeting to bring more insight than these top executives ever could. Because these top executives had never worked taking bushels of lettuce out of a case and going through it and inspecting it. They had no clue what it meant to be in the real world. And again, it's a reason why people like me are so valuable. Because when students go and they learn and they get all this application knowledge in college, that's amazing. And I don't take anything away from it. But when you've never actually done the work, you'll never really understand it, because you never really understand the intricacies that you get bogged down with. And they tend to get overwhelmed. I've seen it time and time again where I'm on a shoot because a friend of mine was there to do a shoot and they needed some quick help. And I see them immediately have one problem and shut down because they don't know how to solve it, because their knowledge tree just stopped there. And they just didn't have the practical knowledge to take a step back, and figure it out.
Well, Joey, I see your worth.
Thank you. Yeah.
Extreme worth, very, very valuable. And I know for a fact that you're going to have a much better upcoming years, and we're going to figure it out with you, and we're going to help you, and we're going to grow as a community and as team members and as collaborators. And, you know, as far as the mindset side of it, you know, that definitely is going to require some work.
Yeah, I know
for
it
you
is.
to believe in yourself. It
I know it
doesn't
is.
matter how much others believe in you. You have to believe in yourself. But know, man, that like Austin wouldn't be the same without you in it.
Thank
and
you.
I'm so
Thank
grateful
you.
for the work that you do and for the person that you are. And I'm just excited that I came across your path.
Yeah.
And that I get to, you know, help a little bit in writing the rest of the chapters.
It means a lot that I have, over these last 8 years, met in Austin, met a lot of amazing people. And you're one of those people that I can count on one hand, that when you come across certain people in your life that you know you'll go to battle for, right? Those people are hard to find often. Like I said, you're one of the few people in the last 8 years that I've found have this huge sense of reverie for, mainly because, and there's not a tieable token that I can put to that, like, oh, she did this, so this is why I like her. I'm very grateful to what my path has brought me to. At the end of the day, and this is a kind of a way that I've sort of lived my life, and it's, you know, to go forward with your best possible self. You know, for me, I was lost, right? And I was out to sea, and all you see at 360 degrees is nothing. Right? This is a huge empty landscape. And I had a choice to make. Do I sit there and wait for someone to come rescue me, or do I, you know, raise my sails and go forward with my best possible self, not even knowing that I'm going in the right direction? And that's what I feel about you and some of the people I've met over the years. You're part of that group where I can start to see those signposts of like, you know what, I don't know what my future is going to happen. I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I kind of like can start to see the signposts that now I know I'm going in the right direction. And I'm just glad that I took the time to do the things in my life that allowed me to be the best version of myself in these last 8 years and move forward in a way that I didn't think I could. I mean, honestly, I had a very traumatic divorce, and it ruined me. And that's where I talk about the 8 years, is these last 8-9 years, I've been in a recovery phase. And it's a reason why a lot of the things have fallen apart, or lack of better term, I just haven't made the effort to really aggressively seek out those future things that I needed to seek out, because I was also trying to correct myself. I was trying to find my wind again, trying to find
But this world doesn't allow time for you to heal. It doesn't. It's not.
No.
It's not merciful like
No.
that. If you break down and you stop because this traumatic thing happened, life is not going to be like, all right, go through your journey.
Yeah.
Go through what you need to do, heal, and then come back and we're here for you.
Yeah, it's true.
It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
And that's why the community factor and being part of true ecosystems and infrastructure that supports that when you're literally dealing in a place where like everyone cares for each other, they're like, hey, Joey, don't worry, take your time.
Yeah.
We're going to be here when you're ready.
Yeah.
You're still going to have a roof over your head. You're still going to have food on your table.
Yeah.
You're still going to have work to come back to.
Yep.
That is what we're trying to create here.
Yeah.
It's places that'll allow for people to exist and be and become and develop without the pressures of having to make a living. And not because you don't have to like do it, but we have the internet. The internet changed everything. It's still in the beginning stages. There's still a fundamental foundation that is there that these are all just, it's now another vehicle.
Yeah, you still have to have a
tool.
community.
It's still is now another tool, is whatever, but it's still the way to make anything successful. That's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step process that is very fundamental.
Yes.
But all I want to say, Joey, is that I see you.
Thank you. It means a lot.
I feel you. You're
Means a lot.
supported. You're loved. You're accepted. You're taken care of. I promise you, even if you got to come sleep on my couch,
I
you will
love it.
never not have a place to
I
be.
love it. Thank you.
Let's use stories like yours to help minimize the future stories of other people that simply maybe they don't want to sell themselves. Maybe
Yeah,
they don't.
they're just not advocates for themselves.
They're
and it
not
happens.
advocates for themselves.
Correct. Yeah, and that's been my plague my entire life.
But it's also giving people the confidence to be themselves, and it's okay to scream to the mountaintops, I am enough.
Yeah.
I am awesome.
Yeah.
I have all this amazing value to bring to the table.
Yeah.
It's okay to be that.
Yeah.
It's okay to wake up and love yourself in every form and scream it out and vlog it
Yeah.
and put it out there. And some people don't want to do that. And that's totally
That's
cool
okay.
too. You know what I mean? But when you don't, like, I see it as like a form of therapy. When you're open with the community or with people, and you just put your story out there, regardless of how imperfect or how messy or how unproduced or whatever the case may be, you're allowing yourself for opportunities that you never, ever even thought of to happen.
Yeah, and that's what I said earlier. It's just like with meeting you and the group of people that I've met over the last 2 years, it feels right?
Yeah.
The people that you find in your life that feel right. And I give other people advice, but often don't take it myself. And it's that gut feeling you have,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you have a gut feeling about a person or a thing you should do.
Yeah.
And because of circumstance or being scared, you don't follow it. And being brave enough to follow it, that's another thing too.
We're your tribe, Joey.
Thank you.
We're your
It means a lot.
tribe.
It
That's
means a lot.
awesome.
It's so great.
Amazing. All right, cool. Well, that's all we got for you today. Thank you so much, Joey.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you. And I'll see y'all on the next episode.
Thank you so much for your attention. If you would like to keep up with my journey, check me out on Instagram or TikTok under KRIS_SAN13. Have an amazing day and happy building.